Hey, 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 all you people watching right now, or
Hey,
listening
people.
later, or watching on demand. But, welcome to another HMC double take.
Double take.
I'm double taking it. I don't know. Hey,
Yeah,
everybody.
don't be stealing other people's jingles.
Don't come after us, McDonald's or
What are we
Justin
talking
Timberlake.
about today, Elon?
Today we're talking about the thing. Do 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 do. It's a thing, and it's the thing at the same time.
How freaky is that thing?
Yeah, man. Is that a
Gorgeous.
is that a special
Steelbook.
edition? Steel
Yeah,
book.
steelbook.
Of course, you got a
Which
steel book.
I'm just going to mention this briefly. I don't want to dwell on it too much because it makes me too sad. But I have there's a whole collection of John Carpenter movies that they released on Blu-ray.
Mhm.
And it didn't come as one set, so you still buy the steel books individually, but all the artwork matches, the fonts are all like the John Carpenter font that he uses for all the title credits and everything. And when
Yeah.
they released the thing on 4K, it's not in that same style. So I have this whole collection of John Carpenter movies that like on the shelf all look exactly the same and they look real nice. And then it's like, although I do love the way this looks, it's just,
Yeah.
the OCD in me or whatever is like, oh, I wish it matched. It's like when Monk is like on the show Monk, he's always like, they're not even, they're not the same, they don't match or whatever. I'm like,
Right.
ah. Anyway, yeah. So
Yeah,
this is the
man.
Steelbook 4K. Um, I thought it was really, really great presentation. The 4K looked
Mhm.
great to me. I didn't spend too much time nitpicking it or anything. And I
No.
did check out the commentary. The commentary is really, really good on this one. But
Yeah.
what a great movie. Sorry, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but I
No,
really,
like
really enjoyed it.
yes, talk about your initial feelings and overview of this film.
Yeah, so I think not to I think maybe I might start getting a reputation of being overly easy on movies, but I'm this one's easily at least a 9 out of 10 for me.
Mhm.
Um, for practical effects alone, it is absolutely incredible. The story is really good. It's one of the few movies, like one of my biggest pet peeves about movies, especially horror movies, is when the characters that you establish previously in the film are intelligent people that, are now I wouldn't say used to the situation that they're in, but it's not like the
Mhm.
first time they've been in a high intensity situation when they make really stupid decisions. And this is one of those movies that doesn't really happen in. It feels
Yeah.
like most of the decisions that they made have some kind of logic to them, even if I think you got to forgive in some movies that do that. There can be flawed logic. I think that's still okay
Sure.
because we're humans, and the people, especially in high pressure situations, are trying to find ways out of it, so they're kind of grasping at straws. But at least in this movie, it felt like all the straws that they grasped, all the things that they tried to do, even if they were imperfect, at least felt logical and like what someone in that situation would do. Even Wilford Brimley at one point, he goes around trying to like destroy everything.
Yeah.
And I think, although that's not the most sensible thing to do in a situation when you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, like his reasoning behind it is very, very sound. It's not,
Correct.
even if it's not the same as what the rest of the crew in the base or in the lab is thinking is the best course of action. He just, he goes for it. And I like movies like that. I don't like movies where parts of the plot has to rely on somebody acting like an idiot to get them in a situation that there's no way that person would have gotten themselves into in the first place. Prometheus.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got something in my throat there.
Yeah, man. I just really like how the I like the structure of the movie as a whole. I love
Mhm.
how, because you always wonder, like, when we're gonna write a movie, like, how exactly, where are we going to drop the audience in on this story? where's the beginning, where's the middle, where's the end? And it just, I, I really love how it starts out with the opening credits, kind of pulling you in already with this, husky just running through the
Mhm.
snow. And you're like, oh, okay, we're following a husky. That's okay. That's intriguing.
Actually, Ewan, the credits are on black. There's no footage when they play the credits. Just kidding. They don't. They don't. But he actually
well,
he talked
well,
about at the beginning of the
technically it's
commentary. He wanted to cut that out.
the, UFO that you first see. So,
Yeah,
uh,
but he wanted to cut all that out because the credits go before that, and then you
yeah,
get the UFO and the title thing. And
right.
I guess the Directors Guild of America made him put the credits at the beginning of the movie. John Carpenter wanted to cut all that out. He just wanted it to start with the UFO and then the burn-in of the thing,
Dude. See,
which
that's
I think would have been even cooler. I think it would have been even cooler. I agree
yeah.
that it's like nice. It kind of hooks you in. The music is a really nice touch, but
Mhm.
I think just jumping right in with the dog and the helicopter is like two thumbs up.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, because you see these things that because so it's world building, yes, but it's a dog and it's a helicopter, and you're like, oh shit, oh, now they're trying to shoot the dog. Like, what
Hmm.
is this? What's going on? Okay,
Yeah.
let's see why they're trying to shoot this dog. And then just shit happens, and then it just kind of ends. Like, it really
Yeah.
doesn't overstay its welcome. And like, I just really appreciate that, how it wasn't like, it's definitely not like a happy ending for sure, and b, it just kind of, it's left to your interpretation.
Hmm.
And
Unless
I
you're Norwegian.
right.
No, because seriously, the helicopter pilot, I guess the pilot learned Norwegian. He learned like a couple lines of Norwegian. And that first thing that he's screaming when he first sees the people is, "Get the hell out of there, you idiots. That's not a dog. It's some kind of thing. It's imitating a dog. It isn't real. Get away, you idiots."
Mm,
So I always wonder,
yeah,
like, if because there's been a couple movies I speak Polish fluently, and there's a couple movies where like a character will speak Polish and say something, and it doesn't happen often, but every now and then it's like something you're not supposed to know because you're not supposed to know the language or
yeah,
whatever. And this is
right.
like one of those. I wonder if I was Norwegian and I heard that, I'd be like, what is going on? What is he talking about?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly, man. So like,
Gr-
yeah, I really love the structure. I loved the just intensity. It's just your typical story of, like, just people not trusting themselves, not
mhm,
trusting those around them,
mhm.
pointing fingers. Like, yeah, man, I really liked this. I mean, obviously I was pretty harsh on They Live, but this one in particular, yeah, was really enjoyable. I really liked it.
Yeah. I agree. And I think I actually, having seen this now after They Live in pretty close proximity, I like this one a lot more than They Live, actually. Because I think that there's a ton of stuff that this movie just does better. It kind of what you're saying thematically. I think it's a
Mhm.
lot less, obviously, They Live is really in your face with the messaging, and it's kind of, overt about what it's trying to say. This
Yeah.
one's a little bit more subtle, but not too much. And I think for me, what really personally hit me on this one a lot is my worst fear is films like Nightmare on Elm Street, or I'm trying to think of others, but Nightmare on Elm Street is the first one that comes into my mind, where
Mhm.
the central conflict of the main character is that they're telling other people a story that is so wildly unbelievable that like it's hard for even their friends and family and people close to them to like hear what they're saying and be like, okay, like let's deal with this, because their immediate first reaction is like, whoa, this person is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Why are you acting like this? We need to take you to a doctor, to a mental institution, or whatever, that kind of sort of a thing. And
Mhm.
nobody believes you. And this is the opposite of
Yeah.
that situation where everybody's like all on the same page. They know one of them at least
Uh-huh.
is like the mafia or the secret Hitler, if you will, in the midst of everyone. And you just can't trust anybody, so it's like that same feeling of like that sense of helplessness because you don't know what's going on, and just that feeling, that tension that's caused by that situation is so good. It's
Mhm.
so tight, and the effects that they use to kind of show some of that is incredible. The blood testing scene is the one that pops into mind for sure. But
Yeah, where they had little tubes hiding behind their fingers and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And that was interesting to hear, like in the test screenings and stuff, that was the scene
the
that bothered
needles.
the audience the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
Needles poking in people and them slicing their fingers and the blood spurting out, whatever. It's like,
Uh-huh.
really? And
Mhm.
all the creature stuff? No, no.
Honestly, though,
Crazy.
I think I kind of get that, because in a way, like you'll never. I mean, hopefully, you'll never experience like your best friend exploding into an alien creature,
Yeah,
But
it is
you
over the
do
top.
experience drawing blood. You do experience, throats getting cut. So I think that the stuff with like actual people and things happening to people just hit a lot closer to home.
Yeah.
And even the scene, I really loved in the commentary how they talked about there's a couple shots where they cheat an effect ahead of time
Mhm.
because it doesn't look like 100% realistic. And in that scene, when Kurt Russell's holding the final, blood
Yeah.
slab or whatever, the scene before that where he's testing the blood slab and it doesn't react is still the fake hand. And they
Right.
cheated it because they didn't want people to like look at that and be like, oh, that's his real hand. Okay, this is clearly fake. And
Right.
I think that's really a smart move, because it sells the idea of this being his real hand in a
Yep.
scene. It's not like what the scene we talked about with Brad with Marty McFly, where it's like clearly a fake hand, composited in front of the camera or whatever.
Right.
It still feels real in all the ways that it needs to. And so I don't know. I think that reaction is better when it's something that you can relate to that seems very mundane, but that ends up being something like creepy or scary or otherworldly.
Mhm. And I have to give it, I mean, obviously props to the visual effects and special
Hmm.
effects team that worked on this. Um, not only
Rob
with
Bottin.
not only with the creatures, and the thing and all its various forms, but even fire. I mean, those were
Hmm.
legit uh,
Flamethrowers.
flamethrowers, and they legit blew things up and had stuff on fire.
Hmm.
Whereas nowadays, for sure, it's going to be CGI fire.
Hmm.
So even stuff like that, like it's very, because they even said like I think they alluded to that in the comments or in the commentary that you know they're really glad because they didn't have to resort to any sort of visual effects in post production because they were able to capture it all in camera. And that's just a monumental achievement, especially this came out what, 1982?
82. Yeah. Yeah. This movie's officially older than I am.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like
that's crazy
wow.
to me. We talked about Ben-Hur and They Live and a couple of the older films that we've talked about, and I can't believe how much it jumped forward in this movie. That the scene of the thing growing its legs out, where
Yeah,
they clearly like it's coming up from the floor, and I think if you
yeah,
look pretty closely you can tell, but like just the impact on the mood of as soon as that happens was like, oh my, I can't
yeah.
imagine seeing that in 1982
Hmm.
and being like, what the, because even now it looks impressive. It looks,
Yeah,
or the other one is the head slowly ripped, tearing away from the body and then
yeah,
crawling down the table. Like, are you joking? Are you kidding me? That looked
yeah.
so good. And it's And my favorite part about it is that it's like an exaggerated look. So it looks
Hmm.
realistic enough, but it's because it's something you've nobody has ever seen before happen in real life. Like
Yeah.
it's teetering that edge of like, wow, that looks really realistic, but it also looks so cartoony because of what's happening that it just sells the idea so well. Just
Yeah.
crawling the head with the mouth open, crawling down the table, like, oh God, beautiful, beautiful. Mwah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's really,
And
really, really well
that
done.
that shot where his stomach bursts open with teeth and
Yeah,
then
and it eats
and
his
then it
hand, eats the guy's
closes on his forearms.
ah!
It's just it is
Yeah,
equal parts cheesy but like incredible at the same time. Like it was just, yeah, just to all of a sudden see that and just have those beats just right after each other. Man, it just it made for a spectacular scene.
yeah.
um
What's really impressive to me too is in the commentary, Carpenter talks about how this movie had the longest pre-production period of any of his movies.
yeah.
But he also says that it's his favorite movie of his that he's done. And I think that's really interesting because he's saying essentially that the amount of work that went into this was like worth it to him. You know, like he
Hmm.
had his vision or whatever and he did it. And the other part of that about that that really gets me is I don't know. Have you seen the storyboards for this film at all?
No.
The amount of detail, it just reminded me because of that shot that you talked with the stomach opening up. The
Yeah.
amount of detail and the way that it's portrayed on the screen from the storyboards is almost like one to one. Like obviously there's some differences from the drawing to the real picture,
Yeah.
but the meat and potatoes of it was storyboarded so clearly and so cleanly. The stomach opening with the teeth is in there, his arms, ripping off, and then the next shot. Like that's all in the storyboards. But then there's a couple times where he mentions how they were still like working through stuff while they were filming the movie.
Mm.
And they have a nice little conversation at one point about how they weren't even sure while they were filming whether or not in universe the characters who got taken over by the thing knew that they were the thing. And I
Yeah.
was like, that is like a whole nother level of terror that I'm kind of glad that they didn't actually just like outright state, like, yeah, when you're taken over by the thing, like you still feel it, it's infected you, but it's not like controlling you necessarily. It's just
Yeah.
at some point, at any point, it's going to take you over and, like then you're going to die or whatever. But when it
Yeah.
initially kills people and starts taking over their cells or whatever it is, if they're still alive when it's doing that, they're alive when the alien has like infected them. Ugh. Gross, creepy, love it as a horror concept, but oh my god, the
Mm.
fact that they were still like figuring that stuff out while they were
Yeah.
filming and we're like, hey, yeah, wouldn't this be creepy if we just, if they don't know that they're infected, but they are infected, like, oh,
I
gross.
know, like that, like the whole blood test scene. Like the dude who ends up, the thing bursts
Mhm.
out of him once, once he puts the copper wire in the blood and then it, has that reaction. Up until that point, you think he's just a normal dude. And then when
Mhm.
he stabs the blood and then it comes out of his hand, that's when that character starts to convulse. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, we didn't even know this whole time. We just thought he was a regular guy. So
Yeah,
like, yeah,
it
just
reminds me of those scenes where, like, the first one that comes into my mind is from Rick and Morty, but I know the trope has been done a few times where there's
mm,
like a clone and it's like, tell me something that only you would know,
right.
and it's like that wouldn't work in this movie. Again, kind of going back to what I was talking about before, the logical, like, smart things that these, because they're essentially scientists in this, lab, but
Yeah.
the smart thing to do is to try and get this person to tell you something that only that person would know. But that
Mhm.
doesn't work in this situation because the alien, the thing, has completely taken over that person. So they have all their memories, they have
Yeah.
all of that content. Like that just wouldn't work in this case. And it's like, the fact that you have to wait for those moments for that kind of thing to happen, for that review, because that, it really only happens when at that point the creature's like, it doesn't have any other out. Like once they know that somebody is the creature, there's no point in trying to pretend like, oh no, I'm not, or whatever. The
Yeah.
creature is just now in survival mode. And that's the other thing that I love about this movie thematically, is if you think about it, the creature has crash landed on this planet and is just trying to survive.
Yeah, they mentioned that a few times.
It hasn't really done anything to warrant the antagonistic response that it's gotten,
Right.
but we don't really know what happens before the. I mean, I know there's the whole prequel movie or whatever, the thing from 2011, which also now I kind of want to watch that, because my biggest complaint when I saw that prequel the first time was the
Mhm.
CG,
Yeah.
especially for coming from a movie where the practical effects is so good. I don't think that movie was trying to replace this one or do anything, but I love the additional context that you get from knowing what
Uh,
happened in that Norwegian lab or whatever. Have you seen the prequel?
no, no, I haven't.
I kind of want to watch that now, because it tells the story of what happened at the Norwegian lab
Right.
before, right when this movie starts. That movie ends with the guy getting in the helicopter and chasing after the dog that ran away, that they now
Oh,
know is the thing. So it's like a really cool, you could potentially watch it. It would be like one continuous story.
yeah.
Um, and I just think that's such a cool premise for like a prequel or whatever. But the fact that in this movie, at least when we're watching it, we don't know what that context is. We don't know what the backstory is. So it's literally just this alien trying to survive
Mhm.
amongst a group of humans that just want it dead no matter what. You know,
That's also called The Thing, the 2011 one?
it is, yeah.
That's
It's just
weird.
kind of weird, yeah. Because when I remember when it came out, people were like, "Is this a remake? Is this like what
Yeah.
is this supposed to be?" And then you kind of don't really, sorry if I spoiled it for you. I kind of assumed that you had seen it, but you don't really know what it is in relation to this until the ending, when you see. I mean, they literally, like, it's like a shot for shot. The movie
Mm.
ends exactly the way this movie opens. So
Oh,
it's like
cool.
then you're like, "Oh shit!" Like it's the continuation or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But now, like the trailer kind of spoiled it, and all that stuff. So if you've seen anything about it, that's kind of like the first thing that's
What
out
is
there.
with that nowadays?
I don't know.
Why do because I mean, trailer houses are trailer houses. For those who aren't aware, it's not the actual studio making the film that makes the trailer. It's a separate
Yeah.
entity. It is a trailer house where that's all they do is just create trailers for movies. So like what changed in the landscape of Hollywood or whatever besides, you know, the whole everybody who just wants to stream everything nowadays? Why did that also translate into spoiling so much with trailers? It's like just
I don't think
because
that's
people.
changed, because I remember we talked about a little Terminator 2. Terminator 2's trailer spoiled the twist. And that was, back in the
Mhm.
90s.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what other
But
movies
it's
spoiled
just
stuff like
way
that.
more prevalent now. It seems like every trailer spoils it to some degree.
Yeah, I think, and this is just a hot take on my part, but I think that that's got to be like a marketing thing. Is that the whoever the people are that are pushing for that, they have to be giving these trailer houses the direction of like, hey, make sure you put this in the trailer, because we want people to know that it's connected to X, Y, or Z, or we want
Yeah.
people to know, because Terminator 2 is my favorite example, because that's the one I think that would have been the most successful had that not been spoiled.
Mhm.
It's kind of like if they had put the twist of Sixth Sense in the trailer, like it kind of ruins the whole movie. And Terminator 2 was like a good example of that, because the movie itself doesn't really spoil that at all until it wants you to know that, hey, this is what the situation is. But I feel like if people had watched the trailer and not known that, then they might have
Mhm.
thought it was, I don't know, like a repeat of the original, too much or something, or I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I think it's got to be like a marketing thing where they want people explicitly to know that it's somehow connected to
Yeah.
whatever came before it. Um, but to me, that kind of smacks of like they're not giving the audience enough credit,
Yeah.
you know,
I wonder if
because I
it's
mean, I
also
guess I don't know.
because, nowadays there's also teasers before like official trailers. So maybe that's part of it too, where it's like that's just
Maybe.
normal nowadays to have a teaser that doesn't really tell you much, followed up by one or two official trailers that probably spoil a little bit. Because I remember I saw the teaser for Project Hail Mary, and then when the official trailer came out, or no, it was the second official trailer.
Mhm.
Maybe a month or so before the actual movie came out, and I remember seeing posts about like, I can't believe they spoiled this and this because of the people who had already read the book. And
Oh yeah,
so
I know exactly what you're talking about.
so I just made it a point. I'm like, okay, I am literally not going to watch that trailer now because um yeah, I just want to go in. I mean, granted, yes, I did listen to the audiobook like a week before I saw it in the theaters just to kind of compare. But
Hmm.
at the same time, like I'm really glad that I did because there were a lot of things that they kind of glossed over in the movie for good reason, just
Yeah,
to
pacing and all that.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. So I'm glad I had the context of both the book and the movie, and they were both just brilliant, just obviously different mediums, but both very fantastic in their presentations.
Yeah, I think it's
So
funny that we're mentioning the trailers because I, especially lately, probably for like the last 2 years or so, anytime I'm seeing a movie in the theaters or like, I typically will see, when the like on YouTube, for example, it'll say that a trailer for a movie is out. If I
mhm.
know that I'm going to see that movie, then I don't watch I try to go in completely blind to
Yeah,
movies, and
yeah,
I honestly feel like I've had a much better movie going experience because stuff like that isn't spoiled. However, the Blu-ray of the thing includes the original trailer, the theatrical trailer on the
uh,
disc, which was really cool because they don't really spoil anything in it and it doesn't really tell you that much about what the story's about. There's a couple little
good.
clips here and there. You can tell it's like a creepy horror movie or whatever.
Mhm.
But that to me was like an effective trailer that would have sold me on the movie without spoiling a ton of stuff about the movie. And I don't know. I wish more movies still did that nowadays. Because again, I feel like nowadays, and maybe it's the internet that's causing these trailer houses to do that stuff. Because with
Yeah.
spoilers, like once one person sees it, they're posting it online, and then everybody knows that spoiler or whatever. So
Mhm.
maybe they're just trying to get ahead of that stuff and really leaning into the fact that like if people know certain spoilers, it actually ups the talk about that movie or it ups the discussion about that movie.
Yeah, maybe.
So you know it
And
all
it
feels like a very marketing focused thing.
probably because, the not a lot of people are still going to the theater to actually see movies, at least statistically. Obviously, so many people went to see Project Hail Mary.
Yeah,
So that just wasn't an issue. They were just going to see it no matter what.
I would
Um,
love to see the thing in the theater. Actually, that would be
I know,
phenomenal. Like a
man.
IMAX showing,
1982.
even put it on the
So
biggest screen possible. Give me some Dolby. Ooh.
next year would be the 45th anniversary.
So
So
I gotta wait 6 years then. Is what you're saying?
well, I mean, if they do release it for the 45th, as opposed to waiting until the 50th,
Yeah,
because yeah, the Labyrinth just came out, and that was the 40th. So just so they can make that extra money, they might re-release it in theaters next year.
yeah. How crazy! I'm thinking about I had mentioned earlier that this movie is older than I am, and one of the things that kind of blows my mind is my favorite part of this movie is the practical visual effects, the makeup,
Mhm.
even the dead bodies that they have that are clearly made out of rubber or whatever, but just
Yeah.
the way that they film them looks really awesome. And it blows my mind that Rob Bottin, the guy that made this, essentially just pitched this idea to John Carpenter as like a hey, hire me, because John Carpenter, hadn't come up with the idea for this yet when he hired him, but basically he had seen other movies that he had done. He was 22 years old. He
Wow.
was 22 years old when he became the lead special effects artist on this movie. And I can't, my brain breaks when I think about where I was at age
Oh
22
God.
and
Yeah.
being handed something like this, that not only is a director like John Carpenter, but then that now I think will live in perpetuity forever as one of the greatest practical effects of all time. It just,
Yeah.
I can't imagine having that responsibility, but also nailing it.
And what's even more difficult about this movie in particular is the fact that the thing has so many different forms.
That was his
So
idea.
it's not just, a xenomorph where maybe
Yeah.
you've got several xenomorphs lined up just in case one gets, demolished or whatever, or, something rips. It's several different, completely different looking creatures that you've got to create. And like, that is daunting.
Yeah.
But
Well,
man, they pull it
it's
off.
it's daunting, but like imagine setting that for yourself as your homework assignment.
Hmm.
Like because John Carpenter says in the kind of behind the scenes documentary that they did on this, that one of the things he didn't want is he didn't want the creature to end up as a guy in a suit, because
Yeah.
this is kind of, to your point about Alien, you see a bunch of monsters in all these movies, but at the end of the day, if you want any kind of motion or any kind of like, stuff that you can actually direct, any movement that you can direct, it's going to have to be a guy in a suit in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And when Botten approached him, he told him, like, I don't really want a guy in a suit. If you have to do it, fine. But like, I would like for this not to be a guy in a suit. And I guess Botten worked with the storyboard artist to like sketch out some stuff. And essentially, the idea that they came up with for this was that this wasn't the first planet that the alien had experienced. And so,
Mm,
all these different forms that you're seeing should look like flora and fauna or whatever from other planets. And
yeah.
then it's just now starting to integrate the flora and fauna from Earth, and the animals from Earth, which is why you see the dog several times,
Yeah.
throughout the various transformations. You see various stages of faces and eyes and all kinds of stuff throughout. Just what a great thought, and how crazy is it that they were like, yeah, I'm going to make that. The limitation as a creative that I'm going to put on myself is that no two alien or no two manifestations of this alien can look the same.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Man. And even I really liked the cinematography in this
Hmm.
film. Kind of like that shot that we talked about earlier, where the spider legs kind of just come out
Yeah.
and then it's land on the ground and then it starts moving. I love how that shot is silhouetted. Like you just see the
Hmm.
silhouette of it, which again is smart in a thinking about cinematography, because then you don't have to have it look like pristine.
Hmm.
It's just enough to get the point across, and you just see the shadow of it where everything else in the background is like either on fire or whatever. So those kinds of details also make it creepy and just sell the fact that it's a horror movie. um but yeah, just I loved listening to John Carpenter just kind of gush over how he loved how the cinematographer lit everything, and everything is just very carefully sculpted
Yeah.
with light.
Yeah.
uh
Well, even on top of the lighting, I mean, there's a ton of scenes where like the only light source is coming from the characters themselves or
mhm.
something that they've done. And I love that, they leaned into that because they realized with all these effects shots and everything, if you put it in darkness, it sells the idea better, because then you're not showing how the sausage is made. And in terms of this, actually, I love the whole movie magic aspect of this, about how they combined, there's multiple sets. They filmed in Alaska for all the outdoor shots, but the majority of the indoor shots and some of the exterior shots were filmed in California on the Universal Studios lot.
Yeah.
And just the way they faked so many of the things in the movie to get exactly what they were going for. Like the scene that you're talking about where the little spider guy, crawls up, that's in silhouette. And then they mention it. It is a really, really great line. They mention it in the commentary, but you see it crawling behind them out of the door. And
Right.
then, he's like, what the? And
Right.
it's such a great shot, but not only because of the lighting and things like that, but you can tell that they had to block it. And, whoever the cinematographer is like framing the shot in a specific way to make sure that you can see every character. And then the little thing, behind kind of crawling, where it's a little, out of focus, but you can see
Mhm.
something moving back there. And it's just like all those things that they had to put into practice and keep in mind while they're filming this stuff is really, really incredible. My favorite scene is well, not my favorite scene, but my favorite framed scene is the
Mhm.
one where they're first having like the powwow around the body. Because
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I really love when a director and a cinematographer can take like action. So, somebody's just like walking across the frame or whatever. We talked about it during Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And
Yeah.
as they're walking, like the framing is kind of like settling itself, and then when they nail it. And this movie has a shot like that, where Wilford Brimley is kind of like explaining stuff to them, and he's walking in front of all the other characters. And when he stops talking and turns around, he's like perfectly in frame with all the other characters. And it's just like you see this nice ensemble shot of everybody, and that they all are reacting together to what he's saying. It's just
Mhm.
really, really well done. It's such a nice frame of picture. I really like that. I love when it looks like a shot from a graphic novel or a comic book, because it's like
Yeah.
they had to just the amount of meticulous planning that has to go in, and then for the actors to be able to execute that so that you just
Yeah.
bam, it looks like a photograph. It looks like a wonderful still, but it's not. They're moving. Everybody's
Mhm.
trying to do their part, and they just nail it. It's so good.
Because didn't they even mention that in the commentary? Or I think John Carpenter himself said like that's one of the most uh like no director is ever looking forward to something like a dinner scene where there's
Hmm.
just a table of characters all surrounding this table because it's just so hard. It is
Hmm.
logistically hard to get all the cameras in all the right places and all the shots because you can't because dinner table is shaped the way it is, you can't have like an 8 camera setup. Like you've got to have maybe a couple or else you're going to see the other cameras in the other
Yeah.
shots. So you have to just break it down in such and such a way. And like, yeah, man, I totally get it. That would be a nightmare to,
And again, they're not filming this. This is 1982, so it's not like they
Mhm.
have these tiny cameras. It's not like they have GoPros that they can put, in
Right.
the corner somewhere, or even some of the more portable cameras. Like we're talking about rigs that they have to set up ahead of time. And again, if they
Yeah.
don't nail the shot, it's literally a trial and error process of, well, and in this case, probably I don't even know if they got like the rough framing right then the day of. Like I'm not even sure that they would have been able to like review that right away and be like, yep, we got it, or no, we didn't get it. They're literally
Mhm.
looking through the camera and like, yep, I think we got it, 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 I think we got it,
Right.
like the whole. And if they didn't, then they have to come back and set it up the next day, or leave it set up so that they can come back the next day and be like, okay, we cut a little too early, or the camera moved a little too
Right.
far, whatever the case is. That's stuff that they had to get in camera on the day of. And just, it's incredible. It's incredible the amount of like patience and talent that's required for that, is and hard work. I mean, talent is one thing, but like in my
Mhm.
opinion, talent is really just dedicating your time to something enough to where you do it well. So
And like, back then, especially in the tight quarters that they had, like with the various locations they were shooting in, like you don't have Video Village like you do now.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So
So I'm
like,
saying you'd have to get like dailies. Literally, you'd
yeah.
have to get like rough dailies at the end of the day and be like, okay, I feel confident we got this shot. This one we didn't. Let's do it. And they even talked about there's a couple scenes that I didn't even realize were filmed after the fact. They had to I don't they're not called reshoots in this specific case because they weren't for scenes that they had already shot, but after they had put together like the rough edit of the movie, they realized that pacing wise there was a few shots that were missing. And so it sounded like there's one shot where they find the rectangle of ice that the Norwegian crew
Yeah.
like excavated out, and
Mm.
apparently that was filmed on like blue screen, and that whole shot is a matte painting. And they're just walking in the studio on a fixed camera. And it's like a 2, 3 second shot of them walking. But because they didn't get it during, principal photography, they had to go back afterwards and just film them like walking so they could get this establishing shot of where the spaceship was, or the UFO versus where they found the body of the alien.
Mhm.
um, yeah, and there's a bunch of them like that. The number of matte paintings that they use in this movie blows my mind when when I watched it, because it seems like so obvious in hindsight, but I think just being used to modern practical effects, the scene where they're climbing down the glacier into the spot where that UFO is, they were actually climbing down a glacier, but all the rest of that shot is a matte painting that they just
Yeah.
framed out and composited in there. It's like, wow. Wow.
Dude, I have such a soft spot for matte paintings and just the art of being able to do that. Like, behind the scenes in any Star Wars movie back in the day,
Mhm.
um, they constantly used matte paintings. And, Indiana Jones and you name it. It was
Yeah, Blade
so
Runner is a
prevalent in the
big one.
70s and 80s. And
Blade
like
Runner is
it's
some great matte painting.
just those artists, man, are incredible. And I honestly think we should bring that back. It's like, did you have to? Why does everybody have to resort to CGI for a particular shot like that? It's like,
Mhm.
just try it
Well,
out.
I know why. It's because they feel like you have to have movement in every shot. A matte painting is a static image, but I think there's even ways around it. I just think that there's a lot to be said for the amount of care and detail that those matte painters put into it. So I
Mhm.
would love to see kind of what you're saying combined with maybe some animation. We have much better compositing technology now. Do the matte paintings in the back and then add some of that like detail, because
Sure.
I think we even noticed on They Live, when we were talking about it with Brad last week, there's like that first shot where he puts the sunglasses on and sees the billboard or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I notice is that you can't really see, like there's a reflection in a couple of the windows, but it's completely static. It doesn't move at all, so it like gives away the fact that it's a painting because the light doesn't move, nothing moves when he's doing that.
Yeah.
And we have the ability to do that kind of stuff, and especially now digitally. Digital painting is so cheap and so easy to do now.
Yeah, I know. I
It doesn't all have
know.
to be 3D photorealistic models. It just, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's yeah, I really enjoyed watching this. And especially listen to the commentary along with it too. Because
Yeah.
this, unlike some of the more recent films that we've watched or talked about on this podcast, um, They Live, I hadn't seen ever, but I've seen The Thing maybe once or twice. But I got the 4K maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, maybe 6 or 8 months ago. So I watched it at that point. Um, but yeah, I'd never watched it with a commentary before. So I
Yeah,
like
same. I
it.
think I'd seen it once or twice before, but this was the first time I'd ever watched it with the commentary, and I'm really glad I did, because
Mhm.
again, I love the movie magic stuff. I love finding out how they did certain things, and even like finding out that they filmed a few of the shots in reverse. Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool that they saw this problem and they were like, well, what if we did it backwards?
Mhm.
And then again, to do it backwards and then nail it is like
Yeah, like when
great
one of the
job.
tentacles out of the thing was trying to find something to grab onto, and it just like
Mm-hmm.
like grabs onto a
Mm-hmm.
chair. Yeah, that was all done in reverse. That was cool.
What's your favorite shot in the whole movie? Not necessarily for effects or anything, but just which one, which is there like a shot that sticks
I
out? That-
really I really love the first reveal shot of the spaceship in the snow.
Okay.
Where they come over the ridge, because it's just so, the scale
Expansive.
of it is just so grand. And like, I mean, it looks like something out of Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
where they're like looking over and seeing like a city or something.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, like just the expanse and just the broad scale of that shot, it's like just totally sells it, and I'm like, good
Yeah,
for you.
especially when you think about it, that like it's not something that they could easily have done. They're not actually walking up to this big spaceship, so it's
Right.
completely movie magic in that
Yeah.
regard. My favorite shot is probably also my favorite scene, but it's only just because of like the mood. I think they did a great job with the creature is dead and it's lying on the table and it's covered with the cloth, and I think is it Clark or is it no, what's the guy's name? I don't
Bubba.
remember yeah, I don't remember which character, but he walks in, he like picks up the cloth and is like, "Ugh, gross," and then puts it down, and then he turns around, and right
Oh
after he turns
yeah.
around, it like moves slightly. I
Yeah.
love that scene because that is like a, you know, perfect horror moment. Neither of the characters are paying attention to it. The audience sees something that the characters in world don't see. And then my favorite shot is the shot of the tentacle coming out from under the table. It's like a low shot, it's in
Hmm.
shade. There's like a light right behind it, and then you see the character that's going to get, taken over in just a few moments, kind of in the back still working. And the tentacle just, it's bloody, it's like oozing and dripping blood, and it's just like slowly extending down. And I love that shot because the difference between the lighting in the front of that shot and the back,
Yeah.
the way that it's set up, the way the effect of the tentacle works, and then just how juicy they made it. The
Hmm.
specular highlights that are all over that thing with the bright spots just make it look so bloody and wet, and like
Yeah.
it's such a good horror shot.
Because yeah, John Carpenter loves his goo.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big fan of goo. The more goo, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man.
Speaking of, I love the amount of goo that they use in this movie in all the
Hmm.
different ways they do it. I think I read somewhere that they had everything from like just colored water to like, what was it? There's a scene where there's like again dripping goo or whatever, and it's like egg yolk that they put
Right.
some colored dye into. And again, you had mentioned the audience reaction to it. They did some tests, some initial tests with some smaller groups on the Universal Studios lot, and I guess when there was a lot of blood, people like didn't buy it as much. But when they were shooting at the alien or whatever, they wanted the blood to be thicker and goopier, so they used
Yeah.
egg yolk and whatever, and apparently that was a lot more disturbing to the test audiences than the other stuff. So
Yeah, didn't they have
I
to
get,
color it too? They're like, maybe not
hmm
red, maybe let's do it
yeah,
green instead.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh
so cool.
well.
GoPro Duppy GoPro.
Yes, they filmed it with the Goo Pro, with all that goo. That's why it looks so realistic, and all those specular highlights pop because they're using Goo Pros to film it.
Yeah. Also really liked Keith David in this movie. I liked actually all the acting. I maybe a little surprised, but not really because for the time. But I think it's notable that there are no female characters. That
Yeah.
was a little odd, but not completely out of the ordinary for a movie filmed back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So doesn't pass the Bechdel test at all. Fails immediately.
Nope.
Um, but yeah, great performances overall. Really liked the effects. I really liked the story and the dialogue. Um, just very well done.
Yeah, I don't even really recognize most of the other characters, or most of the other actors. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, because of how old I am, I'm pretty sure I would, if I was older, like even 10 years older, then I would recognize more of those people. But yeah, I mean, it's a great ensemble and what they were able to accomplish. They always say no small parts nowadays. And like, yeah, they just they just nailed it, man. They did a really good job casting.
Yeah, I'm surprised from what I read, kind of just looking up the behind the scenes stuff. I think this movie was not a box office success, which is very weird to me because again, I don't know
Yeah.
what the sentiment was back in the 80s, but it's weird to me that it wasn't viewed as just like immediately like, wow, this is incredible. Maybe because of all the gore and whatnot.
Probably I
It
could see
probably
that
wasn't
turning
taken
a
as
lot of people
seriously as,
away.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I mean, I don't know. When I watch movies, I'm trying to find things that I've never seen before. And I mean, this would squarely fall into that category for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's surprising to me that people saw it at first and didn't like it. I mean, maybe stomachs and sentiments have changed a lot since it was initially released, but
Probably.
it seems so cool to me.
Yeah.
I also didn't know this was a remake. I started reading the short story that this is
Yeah.
based on, and I love how well it captured the initial vibe of the short story. But I didn't
Mhm.
know that that there was another film that had been made based off of that short story. So
Yeah, because
pretty
they kept
cool.
mentioning that in the commentary.
Yeah,
It's like the original thing. It's like, oh,
yeah. The
what?
Thing from Another World is what that movie is called, and I might check
Yeah.
that out if I can find a copy of it. Um, I think it would be cool to see that and just kind of compare because they spoke very favorably about that movie and about the short
Yeah.
story.
The
The short
thing.
story is called like "Who the
um,
Hell Are You" or something like that.
right. When
I
was
think.
the thing from another world? 1951.
Oh no, it's called "Who Goes There." Samsonite. I was way off. It's called "Who Goes There." But seriously, I mean, even the idea for the story is such a cool premise. I just,
Yeah.
I also huge props to the other kind of like supplementary effects teams, because that burn-in shot of the actual name of the movie is so cool. And in the behind the scenes, he
Mhm.
talks about how they did that, and I can't. I mean, it's literally black spray paint, duct tape, garbage
Yeah,
bags,
dude.
and an aquarium. And I'm like, you made that from that?
Uh-huh.
Like, so good, so good.
Yeah, man. You got to get real creative, man.
Yeah, and the dog
When
actor, the dog was fantastic. That
you know,
scene where it's like in the hallway and it pauses in front of each of the
yeah.
rooms is like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. And that's a lost art too. All dogs who need to, I mean, sure,
Go to
you'll have
heaven.
some
Awesome.
you'll have some inserts where it's an actual dog or an actual animal. But for the most part, if you want like a performance out of an animal nowadays, it's just
CG.
a CGI animal.
Hmm.
Whatever, just make
And
a
I can
CGI.
tell every time. I don't think there's a single movie with an animated dog that I can't tell right away. Like even
Yeah.
I know that like was it The Lion King the live action remake got a lot of like positive initial press for the fidelity of the way that the animals looked. I was not
Mhm.
a fan of it when you see it,
Yeah.
because they try to give them like human expressions on animals, and it doesn't sell it at all. They don't None of them look like actual real animals to me. They don't move right. They don't I don't know. Seems
Yeah.
off.
And even then, like, they try to give them expression, but they're still limited within the confines of the actual real life animal.
Hmm.
So they can't get as emotive as they do in the animated version. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it just, yeah, didn't really sit well with me. I wasn't a fan either. I
Yeah. But
love
I like
John
how they did it
Favreau.
in this movie. I like how they did this in this particular film. The
Yeah.
dog scenes were great. Even the dog monster scenes were really, really
Mhm.
well done.
Yeah.
Um, it was pretty cool. And actually, now that I think about it, I think the only creature movie that I've seen, or movies that I've seen where there's like parts where I genuinely can't tell if it's real or not, are some of the Planet of the Apes films, the newer series.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of really good shots of some, especially the bigger apes and the orangutans and stuff.
Mhm.
Really, really, really well done effects wise. But outside of that, there's too many shots where you can tell it's all CG.
On Sunday, I just started that trilogy. The
Really?
Planet of the Apes, yeah. So
Ooh,
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the first one with what's
James
his name?
Franco.
Yeah, with James Franco. 'Cause it had been a long time since I had seen that first one. Um,
I actually really like all those movies. I think the again, the story, I feel like, is told very, very well, because it's essentially telling a similar story to the Charlton Heston movies, from old. But I like the way that they've spaced it out to show like the evolution of where the apes are as the film series go on. So it's great.
yeah,
Duppy
I
says,
know.
"What's great about that sort of practical analog experimentation is the happy accidents that occur along the way. CGI offers almost zero spontaneity." Yeah, well, and I love Corridor Crew. If anybody watches like VFX artists
Mm,
react or any of that stuff,
yeah,
I love when they're impressed with stuff, because almost universally, the most impressive CG that they talk about almost always has real life reference.
yeah,
Even if they were talking about like animating a dog or something like that, there would be a dog on stage to capture the lighting, to capture the movement, to capture whatever. And so it's all referenced. And I feel like that's where really that separation happens, is if they don't have that reference, then you're literally making stuff up. And I
mhm,
know in the early days of animation, animators really, you're hand animating everything, whereas now it's a lot of motion capture and stuff, and then they've kind of fine-tuned those
yeah,
animations. And I think that also leads to some duller stuff. Believe it or not, I think animators do better work than the motion capture stuff, because I mean, they're literally sitting there and, animating the rig exactly how they want it. And
yeah,
at least for most of the animators that I've worked with, they still use some of those like animation principles, even if it's a live action character. They do some of that like extra motion that a real character normally wouldn't do. And I feel like that extra stuff is what makes the difference.
yeah, for sure. I know, like, I do really like how far we've come as far as motion capture performance, and just the insane stuff that you can accomplish with that when it's done right. To so much so that, like, I honestly wish that even like Pixar movies and, uh animated movies that are for kids, I wish would have, like, be based on motion capture performances. I mean, obviously, if it's some crazy action scene like from the latest Super Mario Galaxy, where everybody is just doing like basically martial arts moves, obviously you're gonna have to just animate that without the motion capture performance, unless you hire like a team of amazing martial artists. But obviously there's limitations to what you can do as human beings. But but I have you ever seen the making? God, this is such a tangent, but whatever. Have you ever seen the making of Rango, the animated
Oh, with
movie
Johnny
with
Depp
Johnny Depp?
and yeah.
I love how the whole cast and crew is in this. If they are in a scene together in the movie, they are literally together with like lapel mics and like, face mics, interacting with each other in a real space.
Mhm.
So like I wish that every animated feature did that,
Did
because
Rango use that as motion capture, or was that as
no,
just as
they didn't use it
reference?
as motion capture. They were just capturing the audio performance of their voices that
Gotcha.
way.
Okay.
So it's so you get just you can improv, and just kind of bounce off of each other and just like feel the energy from each other. So you're going to get a better performance that way. Um, and yeah, it just seems like, and I'm sure it's just a lot more fun for the actors as well, because you're getting to interact with other actors instead of just isolated in a booth. So like, yeah, I wish every animated feature had the budget of an Avatar, um, because then you could use motion capture and you're interacting with your fellow actors on set.
Yeah, Avatar
Um,
is a whole nother animal. Like, I don't even think you have to go
I
that
know.
far to do stuff. It's really great. I mean, it's cool that they can see what they're shooting, like essentially in real time as they're
Mhm.
filming it, at least in a rough form.
Yeah,
But I just think the reference, just having reference of what you're doing ahead of time is really like it's
yeah,
important. It's important. And I just think again, working with the animators that I have, both on the animated series that I'm working on, but also even just for client projects, animators have like a really, really good sensibility of motion and
yeah,
uh and expressiveness and things that aren't necessarily realistic, but that they play as like when movies sometimes there's several tropes now where people think that certain things happen in a specific way in real life because they've seen it in movies that often, but the reality of it is not like that at all. Like when we talked about Lord of the Rings, actually, um uh Christopher Lee talked about how when they were filming the scene where not Gandalf, what's his face, the wizard that he plays. Why am I
oh
blanking on
gosh,
the
yeah,
name?
yeah, yeah, yeah. uh
Well, he
Saruman.
kills Wormtongue. Yeah, Saruman. When Saruman kills Wormtongue, they were, initially when they were talking about filming that, and they were like, okay, and when he kills you, I want you to go like, ah, or whatever. And he was like, that's not what it sounds like. Like in reality, it'd be like, because
Oh
the breath
yeah,
would be escaping or whatever. And it's like, but in movies, they overplay that stuff because
yeah,
people have come explosions, or there's any number of things that happen in movies that aren't real. That's not how they do it in real life. That's not how it actually happens in real life. But we become so used to it that it's like, okay, I guess we got to do it that way now because that's what people come to expect. And if you actually film it the way it happens in real life, people are like, something's off about that. That doesn't seem right.
hmm,
Fights, punching, that kind of thing. It's pretty funny.
uh Brandon Sescon.
Oh, that's amazing, Brendan.
Yeah, I just directed a movie with Thomas G. Waits, who played Windows, just hopping in to mention that he's a great guy and a great actor, and he happily told us stories about working on the thing. Dude, Brendan, thanks for hopping on, man.
Yeah,
That's
if you've got
that's awesome.
additional stories, let's hear them.
should we should we invite you on our next live stream so you can talk about stuff?
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe that would be
since
awesome.
you're in the biz, apparently directing a movie with Thomas G. Waits. So thanks
That's pretty cool,
Brandon.
though.
Yeah, you the man. Thanks for adding to
I also
this.
love that he started with he's a great guy and a great actor, because my favorite thing is when people mention somebody else and the first thing they say is that they're an awesome person.
Yeah,
Awesome, awesome people are awesome.
yeah, they are. I mean, yeah, I guess it's better than he told great stories about the thing, but what an asshole, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly, exactly. But unfortunately, that does happen every now and then. I mean, I've
Sure.
had people talk about that and say, they have a cool story that they want to tell, but more often than not, the story is about how some celebrity was a total douche to them.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Oh, apparently I got his name right. Se
Yeah.
now I don't even remember how I said it. Sescon? I think I said Sescon. Hooray!
Yay.
Well,
Anything else? What else we got?
yeah, I don't really have anything else. I just wanted to, yeah, say that this, if you're going to give it a 9 out of 10, yeah, I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10. No, I'd
Ooh,
give it a 9 out of
nice.
10 as well because it's, gosh, it's just so impressive. Just looking back on things like this from 1982 and what they were able to accomplish and design and create and pull off with all just like all this stuff that we
Hmm.
mentioned and how
And
it
like I said,
teeters.
I would be minimum 9 out of 10, because the more, as we're talking about it, I'm trying to think of things that I think that the movie didn't succeed with. And there's not very much.
Yeah.
There's not very much at all. Like, I'm even just looking at my notes of things that I took, like, uh, they mentioned in the commentary that there were two tricks that they had to use in Los Angeles when they were filming, because obviously the movie's supposed to take place in Antarctica. They would have to smoke cigarettes to start off scenes so that it
Right.
looked like their breath was cold. And they mentioned this, and I had to look it up because I did not believe that this is what they were talking about, but apparently it's true. They had capsules with dry ice in the capsules that they were holding in their mouths. Okay.
Yeah.
Dry ice will literally give you, what is it
Like
called?
burns.
Hypothermia. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So it's crazy to me that they did that. Uh, the second thing was, which I didn't really catch as I was watching it, but and I don't know that this was necessarily intentional or if they were just saying this after the fact. But Carpenter mentioned how the movie felt like an allegory for the AIDS epidemic,
Mm. Yeah.
because at the time they didn't know how people got AIDS. They didn't know, there weren't really any outward symptoms until somebody was like really far into it or whatever. And he thought that it was very, maybe prescient is the word, that, like it was
Yeah.
kind of predictive of how people responded once AIDS became kind of at the forefront of stuff, because he said people were treating other human beings as if they were like the aliens in this movie, and that their
Right.
first instinct was like, get away from me, or let's just kill them all and, get rid of them, kind of sort of a thing. And I'd
Mhm.
never heard that before, never put that together, so hearing them talk about that on the commentary was really, really interesting to me.
Yeah, dude.
Because I totally
That,
see where they're saying that. And again,
yeah.
how I think said earlier. I mean, I know Nightmare on Elm Street was the my worst fear situation that I used, but like, how scary for people who were actually going through that at the time. That's a little nutty.
Yeah.
And then the last note that I have that I hadn't gotten a chance to talk about was, you heard it, Elon, in the commentary. Kurt Russell talks about how he faked an accident, and
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember them talking
I
about
I
it?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
At
go
one
ahead.
of at one of the explosions with the flamethrower, they had been having some trouble getting the flamethrower shots, and I guess John Carpenter kind of like stormed off set for a little bit. And when he came back, Kurt Russell, him and the crew had wrapped him in like gauze and put like fake blood all over, and he told him he got burnt really badly trying to do it. And this was like in the first week, I think they said, of shooting or something like that. And he told him he can't film the rest of the movie because he's been so badly burnt. Um,
Right.
as he's telling the story, Carpenter is like laughing and being like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh man, what a great prank! Like, what a great joke!" And the whole time, I was just thinking about, like, I would be mortified if that
Uh-huh.
had happened on my film, and I would be so pissed at somebody for like that just seems like a mean-spirited joke. But they obviously like know each other well enough to where he knew that that was going to play off well.
Yeah.
And apparently he thought it was hilarious. And I just think that's really funny because like he somehow managed to turn a fake terrifying accident that could have derailed the entire production of the movie into something that John Carpenter is like, oh yeah, man, that was hilarious. That's so great.
Right.
Like what a great cast and crew to work with, where that's the vibe on set, is that they can have this terrible accident and it's
Yeah. I do like how when Kurt Russell's character threw the dynamite, that like that's like an actual like explosion, and he wasn't expecting that explosion to be that big that quickly.
yes, yeah,
And
exactly.
you could tell like he
Uh-huh.
throws it and it's just like bam.
Well, he
And
kind of like does this like immediate turn.
yeah,
You're like, oh God.
yeah. So like that's the 80s, man. They were just they were getting crazy back then.
Nice.
Oh,
Brendan, that story is fantastic. Great actor. Great actor. Yeah, keep in touch. We'd love to talk to you some more if you have any other kind of behind the scenes info about any of these
yeah,
movies. Has been a fun chat.
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Hiddenmovieclub.com.
I can't believe that E.T. beat out this movie. That's kind of another one that I think we should watch, maybe with Brad. But I recently rewatched E.T. and it
Yeah.
did not hold up as well for me as I thought it would.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is even with the like updated effects that they went back and like fixed digitally and did all that stuff. So I'm really glad. Actually, does anybody know if did they do any of that fixing for the 4K release? Do you know, Elon? Did they fix
As
any of the
far as
effects or like touch it up at all?
I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about like I do know that because even on, I mean, let me double check, but even on Blu-ray.com, I
Because
believe
like
it
ET
does
has a
say,
ton of scenes that they fixed up digitally for the re-release for the anniversary a couple of years ago. I actually got the Steelbook because as a kid I loved ET, but it feels much more like TMNT2 than it did TMNT1.
ah,
I still like ET. I still like it as a movie, but it didn't hold up as well. And
yeah,
I feel like a lot of the stuff that they quote unquote fixed with the effects is like, yeah, Duppy, I agree with you on that. I feel like my nostalgia and my sentimentalness or sentimentality from being a kid and watching ET just did not rescue it as much as I thought it would. But
yeah.
this movie, especially if they didn't have to touch up any of the effects for the 4K remaster, then
Mhm.
it's masterpiece. Literally, like I said, a
Yeah.
9 out of 10, and that's the lowest score I think I would give it because I genuinely can't think of something that I'm like, oh, they should. I wish they would have done this, or I wish they had changed this, or I
Yeah.
wish that this wasn't as nice or as good as it was, or whatever. In fact, my only thing is in the scene where they first discover the ice pod, the ice rectangle that the
Mhm.
alien popped out from. And this is such a nitpick, but when they first walk into the room, there's an icicle that you can tell the icicles are fake because one of them is like moving. So it's like clearly a piece of foam that like for
Oh
whatever
yeah.
reason it's like moving or whatever. And I caught that and I was like, it's fine. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Just ignore
It's
it.
just in the background, whatever.
Yeah. Well, because the idea is that everybody's dead in there and there hasn't been any movement. There hasn't been any, but as soon as they show it, it's like ding, 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 ding. And it's just the one. All the other ones are like perfectly solid, and then there's one that just like it's pretty
That
funny.
particular icicle wanted to, have a
It was the, it was
performance.
it was the alien. It was pretending to be an icicle and
Oh
watching them.
yeah. But yeah, like I don't remember hearing of like much done by way of, or at least as far as the thing is concerned. I don't remember hearing much about like doing much with the remaster, but on Blu-ray.com it does say that it is a native 4K transfer. So
Oh,
at the
awesome.
very least, they must have rescanned the original negatives and did 4K that way. So
Yeah, well, it makes me wonder because I know John Carpenter is doing another The Thing.
Oh.
Um, but hold on, let me.
Well, that's what I mean. Maybe the studio itself rescan the negative to make it 4K native, but maybe John Carpenter is in the process of doing like a complete director approved version or
Yeah,
something.
well, I guess they filmed a bunch of alternate endings
Hmm.
for the original movie, and he is putting together. I'm not even sure if it's like a documentary because I've heard like just little snippets here. It
Yeah.
listed IMDb. It's listed as The Thing alternate ending, and I'm not
Hmm.
really sure what that means. But I know that they filmed. Um, like they filmed one ending where the movie ends the way that it does as we see it, but then it like cuts instead of going just to the credits with the dog in all that at the end.
Yeah.
Um, it cuts to like in the future where like Kurt Russell has been rescued and they're doing like a blood test or something like that. And I wonder if he's going
Oh.
to continue that and that McCready did survive, or is it
Oh.
like just a different version of like the actual ending? I'm curious what that means because
Yeah.
again, if they did this transfer as 4K native and they didn't touch it up digitally, it means he has the opportunity to do some digital stuff. John Carpenter is an ABBA fan. Duppy, you'll have to explain that. I did not know he was an ABBA fan, unless this is just a setup for a joke and I'm falling right
Mamma
into it.
mia.
But I'm curious, like where this whole little alternate ending thing is planning on going,
Mhm.
because again, if they would have a prequel now that kind of sets it up, and again, minus the CG, I think I really like the fact that there was a prequel that touches on what happened in the Norwegian camp. Whether
Mhm.
it was successful or not, that's a whole nother discussion. I like that they did it, and I think it could be cool for them to do an ending, or this alternate ending thing, and keep it going after the time period that this one ends. But I'll leave that up to John Carpenter. I
If he
definitely
does
will
that,
want to watch it.
if he does that, I would really hope that he pushes for only practical effects again. Like even in 2027, 2028, just to hire
Ooh.
a crew that only did practical effects. That would be amazing to pull off nowadays.
Watch. It's just a fight scene between McCready and Keith David, and it's the scene from They Live, but them fighting instead of Roddy Piper. No, you're the alien. And then instead of the sunglasses at the end, it's like, take a blood test.
Keith David's like, not this again.
Yeah, exactly. It's overly long, just like it was in They
Right.
Live. That'd be
Something
funny.
feels familiar about this.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I don't think I have anything else. I'm sapped on my notes.
Yeah,
I'm
that's all
kind
I
of
got.
scrolling now through the trivia on IMDb to see if there was anything that
Yeah.
was in there that's notable, super cool or notable, but
Right.
can't really see anything. Just what a successful movie. What a
Yeah.
successful movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Definitely a
Just
classic. I'm glad I have
top
the
to bottom, man.
steelbook, and highly recommended.
Yeah.
Highly recommended.
Agreed. I do as well. Get yourself a physical copy if you can.
Yeah, and in a horrendous case of whiplash, next week's film for after the credits is Legally Blonde.
No, that's June 2nd. Because
Oh,
Legally Blonde's not coming out in the theaters until the very end of May.
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Wait, so
So
did we decide on
Inner
a movie
Space.
yet? Or we're doing Inner Space. That's right.
Yes.
Okay. Inner Space. Which
Yeah.
also, if you don't own Inner Space, Arrow Video has a 4K, nice collector's edition 4K Blu-ray of Inner Space. I think it's also a transfer, and Arrow usually does all kinds of cool special features for their releases. So I'm
Yeah.
probably going to pick that up before next week.
Yeah. My my copy I just ordered, and it's not going to be here till Monday before the stream. So,
Ooh, okay, I better get on that then.
yeah, I will probably either watch
get
it
on it.
like Monday night or first thing Tuesday before before the stream. So, yay. Yeah. But
Sounds
yeah, Inner
good.
Space next week, next Tuesday. And then the next double take after that in 2 weeks is going to be Batteries Not Included. So,
Yes, and Duppy is asking, did you guys ever choose a winner for the Fargo 4K disc? We did, but they never actually responded to us.
yeah.
So nobody actually got the disc. We're gonna wait a little longer. I mean, maybe we should follow up, but nobody won it. So if that person doesn't respond, if you're not watching this and they don't respond soon, then we're gonna do the giveaway again.
Does Duppy want it?
Gee, I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah. So yeah,
Join that $5 tier, Duppy. Just kidding.
hiddenmovieclub.substack.com for join that for a weekly newsletter. That's free. But yeah, if you want to be in the giveaways, join the $5 tier. Ba-da-ba-ba.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us all. I know,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, The Thing is great. Watch it if you didn't before this stream. It's amazing. It holds up. Get yourself a physical copy if you can.
Look at that
It
creepy.
looks great.
Look at that creepy.
And it's a great time capsule to what you can accomplish when you really put your mind to it back in 1982.
Agreed.
All right. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you're watching after the fact, we appreciate you too.
Yeah.
See you for after the credits next week.
Yeah. You're cool. Have a good week.
Peace.